Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Non-profit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Non-profit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Non-profit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. It provides a window into what life looked like 5,000 years ago in Europe. So it's kind of like finding the Ark of the Covenant. In the breathtaking peaks of the Italian Alps, a frozen mystery waited millennia to divulge its secrets. Ötzi the Iceman, a 5,000-year-old marvel locked in ice. But when scientists finally decoded his DNA, the revelations were beyond belief. This is the world's first replica of Ötzi the Iceman. Who was Ötzi, and what did his genetic code unveil about our past? Join us as we delve into the astonishing findings that rewrote history. Scientists just sequenced the DNA of Ötzi the Iceman, and they were shocked. Because of new DNA technology, they're reimagining what he actually looked like. A glimpse into Copper Age life. Ötzi was a man who lived during the Copper Age. He was about 45 years old when he died, and his life story is truly remarkable. Ötzi traveled across the Alps, carrying a copper axe, a longbow, and a bearskin hat. His body was adorned with tattoos, and he endured various diseases and injuries throughout his life. He was also involved in a violent conflict, as an arrow shot him in the back, piercing his left shoulder and causing severe bleeding. But how do we know all this about Ötzi? The answer lies in DNA. DNA is the molecule that carries our genetic information, revealing details about our ancestry, appearance, health, and traits. Scientists have been studying Ötzi's DNA since his discovery and have uncovered many fascinating details about him. However, before we dive into the incredible insights from his DNA, let's take a moment to explore the captivating story of how Ötzi was discovered. In September 1991, two German hikers, Helmut and Erika Simon, made the remarkable discovery while crossing the Tiefenjoch Pass, 10,530 feet above the Ötztal Valley in western Austria. As they carefully navigated a glacier on the border between Austria and Italy, they noticed something unusual sticking out of the ice. It was the upper part of a human body. The mummy, which is now known as Ötzi the Iceman, was found lying face down with his left arm bent awkwardly under his chin. That summer had been especially warm, causing the ice to melt and revealing Ötzi's remains. The hikers quickly informed the Austrian authorities, who believed they were dealing with the remains of a recent mountaineering accident. This led to a rushed attempt to free the body the next day. Rescuers, none of whom were trained archaeologists, used axes and jackhammers to try to extract Ötzi from the ice. Unfortunately, this caused damage to parts of the mummy, including his left hip and thigh, as well as some of his tools, like his bow. Their first effort was halted by bad weather, but they returned the following day to continue their work. Soon after, the site attracted significant attention, drawing visits from 8 groups, including notable mountaineers like Hans Kammerlander and Reinhold Messner. On September 22nd, the body was uncovered, and the next day it was carefully retrieved. A helicopter swooped in and carefully lifted the mummy off the icy mountain. From there, the ancient Iceman was taken to the Institute of Forensic Medicine at Innsbruck Medical University in Austria. This state-of-the-art facility would become the new home for the centuries-old frozen figure, where scientists eagerly awaited the chance to study this incredible piece of history. On September 24th, archaeologist Konrad Spindler from the University of Innsbruck examined the find. He identified the discovery as being at least 4,000 years old, based on the axe found with the body. The ice kept the body in a remarkable state through a process called natural mummification. This means the body was preserved without any help from humans, unlike the ancient Egyptian mummies that used special chemicals. Natural mummification can happen in very cold places, dry deserts, or areas with no oxygen, like bogs and swamps. When scientists tested Ötzi's tissues using radiocarbon dating, they found he was even older than they first thought. Radiocarbon dating checks how much carbon-14, a special kind of carbon, is left in something. They discovered Ötzi was about 5,300 years old, which means he lived around 3300 BC. This was during the Copper Age, a time between the New Stone Age and the Late Bronze Age. The Copper Age, which lasted from about 3500 BC to 1700 BC, is also called the Chalcolithic period. During this time, people in what we now call Europe started using metals widely, but still relied on stone tools because they hadn't figured out how to smelt copper and tin to create bronze. This era saw the birth of more complex societies and the rise of social hierarchies. People began building large and impressive stone structures, such as the famous megalithic tombs, standing stones, and dolmens that we can still see in Europe today. After Ötzi was unearthed, he was first kept at the Institute of Forensic Medicine at Innsbruck Medical University in Austria. However, researchers soon discovered that the mummy had actually been found just 100 feet inside the Italian border. As a result, the Italian government claimed Ötzi according. Austria agreed, and 6 years later, Ötzi was moved to the South Tyrol Museum of Archaeology in Italy. At the museum, Ötzi is preserved in a special cold room kept at a steady 20.3 degrees Fahrenheit or minus 6.5 degrees Celsius. Visitors can see him through a small window. The museum also displays his artifacts and clothing, offering a fascinating glimpse into the ancient past. Secrets of the Iceman's DNA. In 2012, scientists put together a full picture of Ötzi's genome. Their findings hinted that Ötzi's ancestors came from the Caspian steppe. However, something seemed off. Ötzi is roughly 5,300 years old, yet people with steppe ancestry didn't show up in Central Europe's genetic history until around 4,900 years ago. This makes Ötzi too old to have that type of ancestry, said Johannes Krause, an archaeogeneticist at the Max Planck Institute for Evolutionary Anthropology in Leipzig, Germany. This mystery deepened scientists' curiosity about Ötzi. How could he have steppe ancestry so long before it was thought to have reached Central Europe? The clues in his ancient DNA left scientists scratching their heads, wondering about the true story of this ancient man and the paths his ancestors took. In 2023, scientists published a groundbreaking study in the journal Cell Genomics, a gold open-access journal that delved into Ötzi's DNA. Using cutting-edge techniques, they sequenced Ötzi's entire genome, which is essentially the complete set of his DNA. The researchers then compared Ötzi's genome to those of both modern humans and ancient populations. This comparison allowed them to piece together Ötzi's origins, physical traits, and genetic legacy. One of the most astonishing findings was that Ötzi's ancestors were primarily farmers from what is now Turkey. This indicates that Ötzi was part of a group that migrated from Anatolia to Europe around 8,000 years ago, bringing with them agriculture and new technologies. In fact, 92% of Ötzi's ancestry was traced back to these Anatolian farmers, while only 8% came from other groups such as hunter-gatherers from Western Europe and herders from Eastern Europe. This suggests that Ötzi lived in a fairly isolated community in the Alps, with minimal interaction with other regions. Interestingly, Ötzi's genetic makeup was quite distinct from most modern Europeans, who typically have a more diverse mix of ancestries. The closest living relatives to Ötzi are found in Sardinia, an island in the Mediterranean Sea, where the population also has a high proportion of Anatolian farmer ancestry. Another surprising discovery from the study was about Ötzi's appearance. Contrary to what was assumed based on his mummified body, which suggested he had light skin and hair, his DNA revealed that Ötzi actually had dark skin and eyes and very little hair on his head. His skin tone would have been similar to people from Southern Europe or North Africa today, and his eyes were likely brown or hazel. The hair loss he experienced was due to male pattern baldness, influenced by genes on the X chromosome. Ötzi inherited a variant of this gene that increased his risk of baldness by 6 times. Additionally, The study found that Ötzi had genes that heightened his risk of obesity and diabetes, health issues that are common in modern societies. Why did Ötzi's body look so different from his DNA? The answer lies in how his body changed over time due to the environment. The freezing dry conditions of the glacier preserved his tissues, but they also changed his skin color and hair. As his body lost water and fat, his skin became darker and leathery. Meanwhile, his hair turned lighter and thinner because it lost melanin and keratin. These changes made Ötzi appear much older than he actually was at the time of his death. In reality, Ötzi was in his prime as an adult man. He stood about 5 feet 3 inches tall and weighed around 110 pounds. His well-developed muscles and bones showed that he was physically fit and active. Ötzi's DNA revealed several genetic mutations that heightened his vulnerability to diseases like lactose intolerance, heart disease, arthritis, ulcers, Lyme disease, and gallstones. Additionally, traces of parasites were found in both his intestines and blood. Beyond his genetic profile, Ötzi bore physical signs of trauma. His right hand displayed a deep cut, likely inflicted by a knife or an axe. Bruises and fractures adorned his ribs, chest, and skull, seemingly from blunt force impacts. Most notably, a fatal arrow wound in his back marked the end of his life. The question of who killed Ötzi and why remains a profound mystery. Various theories speculate he might have been embroiled in territorial disputes, personal vendettas, or even ritual sacrifice. Clues from his possessions, weapons, clothing, and tools offer insights into his identity and social standing. Yet the identity and motives of his assailant may forever elude us. Ancient tattoos. Insights into medicine. From the edges of his eyes to the tips of his toes,